The authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and Arrive Alive Drivers.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? It's your boy DC, Thursday night host of Rogers Out of the Fog.
Right, you kind of got to make your own fun.
Yeah.
Which was a transition for me, going into the morning show here.
Proud. Keep doing the amazing work, will you?
They're learning about how to hire people.
20 years of local matter, so join me every Thursday night and see what's going on in the fog.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Hi, I'm Darren and welcome to Pocket Universe, coming to you from Heroes and Hobbies. On today's episode, we have Andrew Peacock, author, Amanda Michelle, cosplayer. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to the show. I'd like to welcome Andrew Peacock, author. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks very much for having me.
Tell us a little about how you got into writing.
I came to Newfoundland as a veterinarian. I worked for the provincial government looking after farm animals, and always thought that my job was interesting enough that there was a book in it.
Okay.
And I loved the veterinary work, but I thought when I retired, I wanted to write. So I did. I started writing after retirement, and here I am now as an author.
What was your first book?
My first book was called Creatures of the Rock, and it was a memoir of my time as a veterinarian in Newfoundland. And that was good fun. You can imagine there were some pretty interesting people with my clients and my patients in rural Newfoundland.
So with being a veterinarian now with the government, would that be large animals or everyday animals?
It was large animals, but I also had a private small animal practice on the side. Yeah.
What's the oddest one? I'll go off topic. What's the oddest or most curious or most interesting animal you worked on?
I always tell people there's only one animal that ever scared me, and that was the ostrich. I had a farmer with ostriches. They're 9 feet tall.
Oh.
They can cut you in half from 6 feet away with a kick.
Seriously?
And, you know, I worked with bulls that weighed over a ton, but the ostriches were the ones that scared me.
That's wild. That's wild. That's tall, too. Wow.
Yeah.
Wicked. So what was your first book about?
My first book was just stories about what happened on my vet calls, and all kinds of strange things happened with every kind of animal, from a kitten to a whale. I worked on them all.
Cool. So how did you you decided to write the book. What steps did you take first?
I just started writing stories. I took a week off while I was working to see what kind of job would this be. It's a very, very different job than being a vet.
Yep.
When I'm a veterinarian and I deliver a calf, nobody ever says, you call that a calf?
Yep.
You either do it right or you do it wrong.
That's right.
When you're right, you have no idea at the end of the day whether you've just generated some bird cage cleaner paper, you know?
Yep.
You don't know if it's any good.
So did you have anybody guiding you in the system? Or?
Not really. I eventually got an agent. I have an agent in Vancouver, and my agent got me a contract for the first book with Random Penguin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just decided to write a book?
Yep.
And I'll write a book, and...
Yep. And loved it, and continued on writing after that.
Okay.
Different kinds of books.
So you come up with the idea of the book, you got an agent for your editing and all, anything like that. Did you have somebody find that, or did you edit everything yourself?
Of course, you edit things yourself to start.
Yes.
You have readers who you pick that you trust their opinion, have them read it, have them look at it. But then when you're with a publisher, they provide the editors, you know,
okay.
I've been lucky enough to have some very good editors.
Oh, nice.
With stuff that I've written.
Now, how many books have you done in total?
I've done 4.
Okay.
And 4. The first one was a memoir. The second one was a children's book about the realities of euthanasia of pets.
Oh, wow.
The third one was a book that I wrote 3 years ago about what would happen if there was a pandemic in Newfoundland.
Which,
And some people have blamed me for what happened.
so you wrote this before the pandemic?
Before the pandemic, when I was a veterinary student, I worked in a lab animal facility in Ottawa looking after monkeys.
Okay.
And the veterinarian that I worked for, his predecessor was bitten by one of the monkeys and died from a thing called simian herpes B. So we were always afraid of the monkeys in that building and always afraid that something might get out.
Right.
You know, some disease might get out. And then when I started writing, I thought that'd be a good idea for a book. You know what? I could write a book about, based on when I worked in the monkey facility, have a character who was like me as a student, and have him from Newfoundland. And what would happen if a disease got out, not knowing that one was going to get out, of course, later. The disease that I had was much, much worse than coronavirus. One of the things when you read this book is that you realize is how lucky we were with the disease that caused the pandemic. Coronavirus kills maybe 1% of people that get it. That'd be high end.
Right.
There's a family of viruses called the filoviruses, and that's there's been Marburg in the news lately, and Ebola. Some of those viruses kill 90% of the people that get it. So if that was what happened instead of corona, you can imagine the mess we'd be in. And then the other thing that I found interesting thinking about that is what would happen in Newfoundland. Because Newfoundland would be a very special case. If there was an outbreak of a virus that was worse than corona, we'd be pretty quick to shut down the borders.
Yep.
You know, we wouldn't let anybody in. We think, you know, this is a special place. We can stop planes from coming in. We can stop boats from coming in. But what happens then?
Yeah.
Newfoundland can't feed itself.
That's right.
People would starve here if we closed the province off. So that's all interesting stuff to play with as an author, you know? And it's also interesting to look back on it and see when the pandemic did come, what did I get right?
Oh,
you know, what happened?
Sure, yeah.
And I missed the toilet paper. I didn't get that.
Oh, yes, everybody was going to the supermarkets.
I missed that. I thought potato chips was going to be the problem.
Oh, did you? Potato chips. What do you do in Newfoundland when the storm comes?
That's
You
right.
go buy potato chips.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was. You got potato chips instead of toilet paper.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Is it a sci-fi book or a horror book?
It's an interesting thing when I talk about it. I call it speculative fiction.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is there's a real bias against sci-fi in the publishing industry.
Okay.
People don't think that's serious writing, and it's nonsense, you know? There's some excellent sci-fi. But a lot of publishers sort of shy away from that.
Do they know about Star Wars and Star Trek and that kind of stuff? Or?
They do, and
They still
they
say
would say,
stuff
well,
like that?
that's not serious literature.
Oh, it's
you know?
not?
Yeah.
Oh.
That would be, and I'm not saying that.
No, that's
the
right.
publishers did. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's.
Yeah,
All the
it's
money
an
that
interesting.
shows
It's a very interesting. You know, the difference between making money and getting published is not always as clear as you might think. You wouldn't believe. What do you think would be the kind of books that make the most money? Where do you think the most money is in publishing?
I wouldn't be able to
It's
guess.
romances.
Romances, okay.
That's where the real money
Charlie
is.
romance and stuff
That's
like
where
that.
the
Okay,
real
yeah, I can
money
see
is
that.
in publishing.
Yeah.
And I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
But the reason is that there's romance fans who read 3 and 4 books a week,
Oh, okay, yeah.
right? So you sell lots of books at that.
Yeah.
Haven't written a romance yet, though.
No. That might be the next book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this book you're
Yes.
holding here now.
Yeah.
Tell
This
us a little bit about that.
this is a book called Bifocal. This is my most recent book.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years back, probably about 10 years ago, I was in an art gallery and I saw some photographs by a young girl named Kaylee Middlecoop.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first saw the photographs, I thought, this is something by a mature woman. This is a middle-aged woman that wrote this, that did these photographs, because they're so clever, they're so literate, they're so articulate, you know, and the Photoshop work in it is just brilliant.
Yeah.
And then I found out it was this kid, basically, that was doing this stuff, and I thought, I gotta meet this girl,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do something with her. And the two of us got to be friends, and we worked together where we did this book that's a collection of short stories. And originally the idea was that Kaylee would generate photographs to illustrate the stories. And it got eventually that it was kind of circular, that it was, sometimes it was, I'd write a story about her picture, sometimes she'd do a picture about my story. And it was always interesting to know, to see how she saw the story. You know, sometimes it'd be different than what I intended for it. And sometimes she'd do a photograph, and my interpretation of the photograph would be completely different than what she thought. For example, the picture that's on the front of this shows a girl going through a doorway in the woods, and a lot of Kaylee's stuff has no Photoshop in it. This has no Photoshop at all. She made that, took that door frame and set it up in the woods and did the picture.
Actually did an actual set in the woods.
And I'm not sure what she meant about it, but the story that I wrote is about suicide. And that changes everything about this picture. You know, this picture all of a sudden becomes very dark. You know, it's somebody leaving.
You don't want her to go through the door.
Yeah. And she's going to someplace else, right?
Yeah.
So that was, it was really fun, and it's, I think it's very interesting to take two different kinds of art. You know, a younger girl and an older man have different outlooks on the world. She's a photographer, I'm a writer, and I think it's very synergistic, you know, the 2 and 2 is 5 when you put them together like that. That's
like looking at that picture there now. You look at it first, it's like, okay, maybe she's going to a magical land or something. And it's light. It's light, And then when you hear the story of it, it's like, oh, don't go handy to the door.
No, that's right.
Stay away from the door.
That's right. That's right.
That is amazing. So are all, like, is it a collection of tales and stories, or is it one long story?
It's a collection of different short stories, and they're about all kinds of different things. There's they're about life. A lot of them are about writing. About writing. One of the stories is about a writer who has no inspiration, and the story is told from 2 points of view. One is the writer who can't find anything to write about, and the other is a spider who's sitting up in the top corner thinking that this is so fascinating, this room. And the writer can't see what's fascinating, and the author and the spider does see it. And the picture that she gave for me is brilliant. It's a picture of a girl sitting on a stool, and she's got 8 legs. It's really neat,
And so who came up with what first?
I did the story first in that one. And then she came up with, you know, she said, okay, there's a spider and a woman, and she put them together in her photograph.
That was so
and it's one of these pictures that you look at it first and you go, oh yeah, it's just a girl sitting on a stool, and it's just so cleverly and subtly done that all of a sudden you realize, no, she's got her legs crossed, but she's got 8 of them. You know, she's got 8 of them. She's got 2.
That's pretty different. Anything else that you really like in this one, or are you?
That's like asking who your favorite kid is, you know.
That's true too.
But there's one in it that's kind of fun. It's a picture of a girl sitting in front of a huge dictionary. And she's writing down notes. And the story for that one is somebody who goes shopping in a grocery store and uses words and realizes that they're getting the words wrong. And they go through a series of 10 words while they're shopping, and they have the wrong definitions of all the words. And the origin of that story was I saw an internet article about the 10 most misused words in the English language. And I thought maybe I can stick them into a story and have a character shopping and talking about, you know, people say literally, you know, they say that wrong all the time. You know, my head's literally going to come off. It isn't, no. Probably not, or you're in big trouble. And there's a bunch of words like that, and it's just fun to play with that. And then it's fun to see what a photographer does with that for interpretation.
Andrew, your books sound fascinating, I got to say.
Thank you.
Love them all. I just want to say thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Enjoyed this.
And we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to the show. I'd like to welcome Amanda Michelle, cosplayer. Welcome to the show.
Nice to be here.
Amanda, tell me all about your cosplaying, how you got started.
So I started cosplaying when I was 18 years old, so that's 13 years ago now.
Oh, wow, give me your age.
Yeah, 31. I just used to see it a lot online, just different people I'd follow on YouTube. At that point, sci-fi had been going for 3 years. So it was kind of in the community, so I remember seeing people, I had a few friends who were interested in it, and I just thought that seemed like a lot of fun. I was already a really big geek. I've kind of been cosplaying my entire life, you know, like Halloween, you dress up as characters you like.
Sure.
So like when I was 8, dressing up as like Queen Amidala or like Pocahontas. So like any characters that I was, as a child, I really enjoyed.
Sure.
I'd want to dress up as them.
Yep.
Playing Sailor Moon with my friends, you try to like piece together the outfits to like look like the character. So you kind of always been doing it. So when I saw that this was a thing that people did all the time and that you could really make the costume and really make the character come to life, that was like, that's a thing I want to do.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah, so as soon as I found out there was people here doing it, I wanted to be involved.
What was your very first costume?
My first costume that was officially a cosplay, I think was actually Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had short blonde hair at the time, like really short.
Yep.
And so I just parted it to the side. I had a cloak that would work.
Yep.
I bought a tie from Walmart and I painted it the correct colors, and that was probably my first like proper cosplay.
So where do you cosplay to right now, like currently? Like you've been at it now a few years, so where do you usually, what type of events do you go to?
Any convention in town, so I go to every Sci-Fi on the Rock.
Yep.
I go across the island to Atlanticon every year.
Oh, yes.
I do go to Avalon Expo.
Avalon Expo, yeah.
Gander Geek Fest.
Yep.
I'm hoping next year to make it to HalCon, but we'll see. That one's a little more out of the way. But if it's a local event, I do it.
Good.
Cosplay volunteer events, so like Marion Bright at Botanical Gardens, I dressed up as a princess for that one. Just a little while ago with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, they had cosplayers come in. So I was one of the cosplayers that came in for that event.
So there's businesses that invite cosplayers to come in.
Yes.
And do what? Like so you go into the Avalon Mall for Ant-Man and the Wasp. What do you guys do there?
Typically, it's just walking around and interacting with people and getting pictures and getting people excited about seeing the movie.
Do you charge for the pictures?
No, it's all volunteer.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, I imagine Disney would come in and shut it down real fast.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I imagine they would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this costume you got on today, tell us a little bit about it, please.
So this is Princess Zelda from Twilight Princess: Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
So this one, I chose this one because it's one of my more elaborate costumes, and it's one of the few ones that's entirely homemade.
Is it?
Yes. So I made the dress myself, both pieces of the dress.
Okay.
This I hand drew out and then hand painted. So it's all done. This is all 3D printed and assembled. Wig I styled, so all homemade. So I thought it'd be a nice one to bring in.
That is beautiful work. So has this one gone to any conventions or events yet?
It's been to one Sci-Fi on the Rock, Sci-Fi on the Rock 14.
14. Oh, nice.
Only worn for a couple hours at that. So this is my second time wearing it out.
How long does it take to get into something like that?
I managed to do it today in about an hour total.
Hour? Oh, wow.
So that includes makeup, getting the wig on, getting all the costume pieces on, and also going from my house to here.
How do you get the ears on?
They just clip around.
Oh, just clip on?
They just clip on.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so really easy to get on and off.
They're the easy part.
Yeah.
So what costumes do you have at home? I'm sure you've got some extra ones at home.
Oh, I have so many costumes.
I have so many costumes.
Right now, I have about 30 costumes that I could pull out of my closet and put
30?
on. 30 that I could just grab and wear immedially.
Wow.
And that doesn't include some that don't quite fit anymore because I made them when I was much, much younger.
Wow. What would it be?
I have a lot of princesses and a lot of superheroes that tend to be my main ones.
Okay.
Like I have Briar Rose costume from Sleeping Beauty, so prior to her realizing she's a princess. I have both the blue and the pink dress of Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, nice.
I have the yellow ball gown that Belle wears.
Yep.
I have a Rapunzel. That one, the wig weighs probably about 5 to 10 pounds on its own because it's huge. I have another big one I wear often is Scarlet Witch from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
From Marvel, yeah.
Yeah, I have her outfit from the end of WandaVision TV show. I have a Supergirl. I have a Black Canary. I have a Poison Ivy and a Catwoman and a Harley Quinn. And if you can name it, chances are I already have it.
You have it somewhere.
Yeah, I have a lot of costumes.
You have when you go to these events now and you see like the little kids, how do they react to you?
It tends to be one of two reactions, especially if they know the character.
Yeah.
It's either they're so excited, they're running at you, they want hugs, they're attached to you, they will talk to you for so long. Like, you'll start being like, you'll just be sitting there and they'll just talk and they'll talk and they'll talk. They're so excited.
Yeah.
Or they see you and they go into shock and they want nothing to do with you.
Go on.
Because it's the total opposite. There's like, no, it's just like, never meet your heroes. Don't want to be there. They want to leave.
Yeah.
Turn around, go the opposite direction as fast as they can.
But when they see you, they see the character.
They do, yeah.
Ever gotten to ask any questions?
Yes.
Yes?
I have, yeah. I've gotten asked, I have like an Elsa costume from like the end of the second movie, the spirit dress she has, and kids asking like, oh, can you do magic for me? And they had to make up excuses for why you can't do magic at this particular location right now. Like, oh, I was told I wasn't allowed to like make snow happen indoors right now, so I can't right now.
Oh, so you sort of got to be prepared for answers.
You got to be prepared to give them reasons for why you can't do things.
Yeah.
Or I have just a generic fairy costume, so you have the big wings, and kids ask, well, can you fly for me right now? And it's like, no, we were told we weren't supposed to fly right now, but maybe if you catch me after and try and push it off.
Trying to push it off.
Yeah.
So a lot of your costumes, you mentioned a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Do you make up any characters your own, and where do you get inspiration from any?
I don't personally tend to make up a lot of original characters.
Okay.
Just because for me that's not as much what I love about cosplay. I love becoming the character versus
the established character
versus making up my own. But I do have like some original like fairy type of designs that I've worn for events like that, and I've made like wings inspired by dragonflies because I love dragonflies. Mm-hmm. I'm in the process of working on an original character from D&D.
Okay.
Who's going to be a fawn druid. So I'm making like big hoof shoes and designing that outfit, so that's all entirely from my own imagination, but they don't tend to be the costumes that I make most often.
Mostly it's for established characters.
Yeah.
And that. So do you have anything planned now coming up, like any events coming up soon?
I think the next event coming up will be Sci-Fi on the Rock 15.
Okay.
So I'm working out my lineup for that and what costumes I have to make.
Yep.
I'm thinking it's only going to be, since I have so many, only probably 2 or 3 new costumes.
Okay.
With about definitely 6 being planned to wear, but could be more than 6 over the course of the weekend.
So you'll do 6 costume changes in the weekend?
At least.
At least?
At least. That's kind of my minimum.
Okay.
But it could end up being more. I've done up to 3 costumes a day. I've never done more than 3 costumes in a day. So 9 was my most I've ever worn at a convention.
So at a convention, there's usually like events going on and panels and workshops and all this kind of stuff. So you mostly go to cosplay and meet the people and...
That's what I spend a lot of time doing. I'll do a couple loops of the vendor's room, but I spend a lot of time in the main lobby getting pictures with different people and kids and groups that are going on. And
that's amazing. That's great. Now, when you said that you do events like the Botanical Gardens and other events and that. How do you guys get invited to that?
So I'm a cosplay volunteer with Sci-Fi on the Rock. So they actually reach out to Sci-Fi, and then Sci-Fi reaches out to people that they know who do costumes and see if they're interested in coming in and working with Sci-Fi.
And what type of events, I know we just discussed a little bit, but tell me a little bit more about the events that the volunteers go to, like, and what you would actually do there besides the pictures with the kids.
That tends to be a lot of what it is pictures with children, but also just interacting with them. So getting into the character, pretending you're the character, and talking to the kids and just entertaining them for a while.
Just entertaining for a while.
Yeah.
And then, so what kind of events would these be?
So I mentioned there's a few that Mon Botanical Gardens do.
Mon Botanical Gardens, yeah.
So you walk through the gardens, you talk to people. And, I mentioned the Empire Theaters with the Quantumania, so you're going in there and doing that one. In the past, they've done different themed brunches with different restaurants. Yep. So you'll go in and as people eat, you walk around and talk to them.
And when you do these different themes, like at Botanical Gardens, what would you normally wear in something?
So for Botanical Gardens in the summer, they tend to do fairy-themed events. So you do, that's where the original fairy characters come in, and that's what you'll wear at those ones. But around Christmas time, they have their Merry and Bright Festival. So they tend to want more of like Christmas-inspired characters who already exist. So they're looking for superheroes or princesses mostly. Okay, yeah. So I have a pile of different capelets, so like short capes that are fur-lined, and I have a pile of those that I'll just wear over my various princess outfits.
Over that.
Yeah.
Wow. So you say like you get these 30 out. Where do you store them all in your house? My God, they must take up some space.
I'm very lucky in that my house has 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
So the 2 spare bedrooms both store costumes.
Okay.
And I have a downstairs rec room that for some reason just conveniently had 2 closets
neat.
in the rec room. So those get used for cosplay storage as well. So I take up about 4 closets in my house storing costumes.
Anybody that wanted to get into cosplay, how's a good way for them to get started?
I would say start by just picking something, a character you like, and it really doesn't matter how simple or difficult the costume is. If it's someone you really want to do, just start by doing it. So you can, I started a lot of early on thrifting pieces, and maybe I was lucky my mom knew how to sew, so she could teach me how to sew, and I could work on modifying pieces from a thrift store.
Oh, thrift store, okay.
Yeah, so I recommend thrift stores if you're looking to go very low budget starting off. But especially now getting into cosplay, it's very easy to find things online for a good price.
Oh, good.
So it's much more attainable to like get a really nice costume for not much money.
Are there a lot of sites online that people can find?
Yes. So I've used a site called Pro Cosplay before, a site called Costumes. I don't really know if that's pronounced right.
Yeah.
Or like actual sites I've used to order things, but I use AliExpress a lot. So I just go on, I search what I'm looking for, and I just find ones with good reviews.
Sure,
So I can see if it's a good quality costume.
Yeah.
And then hope for the best. But
that is amazing. That's like, I love this outfit you got on. That's like totally amazing. With your costume here now, you said they were like 3D printed, but you made everything here.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
That's a tough one because I started this before COVID.
Oh, okay.
And then
so it's not
it got put on hold, and technically it's still not done. There's some designs that are supposed to be on the skirt that I haven't put on the rest of it yet.
So we haven't got around to.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be some designs along the hair that I haven't done yet either. I'd say it's a solid couple weeks of work.
Couple weeks of work.
Couple weeks if you condensed it all down, but.
Is there anywhere people can go online to see your work?
I have a cosplay page on Facebook called Spearmint Cosplay.
Okay.
So you can find progress pictures there. I'm not great at social media, but that'd be the best place to find me there.
Well, that's great. Amanda, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back after this.
Hooah! 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 Ah!
Ah! I don't like her. Okay, on today's show, we had Andrew Peacock, author, Amanda Michelle, cosplayer. We hope you had a good time. Come on back. We'll see you next time.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
You're watching Rogers TV.